Good evening to everyone. This is Michael O'Malley with the Hurricane Outlook and Discussion for September 10th, 2019, recorded around 6:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do have a slew of tropical activity to keep an eye on, with recently designated Invest 95L here in the Atlantic near the Bahamas, just north of the Dominican Republic and Hispaniola. We'll have to watch this area once it crosses into the Gulf of Mexico for potential tropical development. This was a healthy Invest 94L earlier last week, but that is the chances on 94L have significantly diminished. Now only a 20% chance of development, and we've been watching this wave out here that has come off of Africa, and I do suspect that once later in the week this gets closer to the Lesser Antilles, we'll have to watch for some potential tropical development there, coming in a later week. If we look at the wide shot coming off of the GO 16 here, you noticed a couple things here. This is a piece of energy trying to get organized in the Eastern Pacific, and not really any threat to land at this point in time. And then we are also watching, this is 95L, and again, we're really going to have to watch this as it gets into the Gulf of Mexico. Water temperatures here are very warm, and we're going to have seemingly a very favorable environment for this to sneak into the Gulf of Mexico and try to make a run for some type of tropical development. And this right here, poorly organized 94L, and again, 94L earlier in the week was a lot of buzz and looked like it was going to develop, but the models have backed off significantly on development. There's almost no convection concentrated around a certain area. So for that reason, 94L pretty much its chances are diminished. And again, this will be generally heading towards the west here over the next couple of days. And what will be 96L, this piece of energy that's coming off of Africa, eventually, once it gets into this portion right here of the main development region, conditions should be a little bit more favorable for tropical development. So we're going to have to watch, and some of the model indicating that once this gets close to the islands, that they will have to watch for a developing tropical cyclone at that point in time. We'll just have to wait and see. This is Invest 95L, and you can see poorly organized convection. There's an upper level low sitting somewhere right about in here. No definitive surface low at this point in time. So there's really no surface circulation. This is the Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos here, so something to keep in mind for those portions that are up in near Grand Abaco, those portions. Maybe some enhanced rainfall, certainly some enhanced rainfall for the southern Florida Peninsula, upwards of the Florida Peninsula, excuse me, and for other portions of the Florida Peninsula, and then into portions of the Gulf of Mexico here. We are also keeping an eye on this. This is the energy here associated with 94L. Pretty decent bundling of energy, but there is no convection along with that. And then this is the other disturbance that we're watching out here as both of them trot towards the west here over the next couple of days. This is the one thing I did want to pay a little bit of attention to. This is the sea surface temperature anomalies updated yesterday for September 9th, 2019. You can see some interesting notes here. Sort of a La Nina look to the overall sea surface temperature anomaly here in the Eastern Pacific. Certainly a little bit warmer in the Atlantic, or not in the Atlantic, but we'll get to that in a minute. But in the Eastern Pacific main development region, a little bit warmer than normal. So that might seed for some late season activity that might potentially occur around here. Excuse me. And again, Hawaii has also been sitting under this really warm pool, so any tropical cyclones that make it close to Hawaii will have to pay attention to there. But also to note that the Atlantic main development region is pretty warm, and we'll go to the zoomed in shot. This is on order about a half a degree to a degree above Celsius in the Atlantic main development region, and that's concerning. Any of these tropical waves that kind of roll off of here, you know, they might not develop right in here, but where could they develop? Right over here, where people live. Excuse me. So again, it is a little bit concerning to see sea surface temperatures run this high, innocuously warm, about a degree, or a half a degree to a degree Celsius above the long-term average, almost looking sort of like this this sort of discombobulated phase 1 AMO signature. A little bit cooler up here, but you can see a little bit of that phase 1 and phase 2 AMO signatures, which is just the overall warmth in the Atlantic. And again, the sea surface temperatures in the subtropics are also pretty warm, above the long-term average. And here is the path, the upwelling of Dorian, and again, that will fill in rather quickly. So, but again, the Gulf of Mexico right where it should be, but always warm enough to support intense hurricanes. This area still has plenty of upper ocean heat content, and the main focus potentially for a backloaded Atlantic hurricane season, a very active backloaded hurricane season, I do believe. The signs are there for sure. Doesn't mean it has to happen. It's not a guarantee. Let me make that clear. But there are signs that this could be a very significant burst of activity that could occur within the next couple of weeks, certainly towards the end of September and into October. And with the Atlantic main development region about a degree or half a degree to a degree above the long-term average, that could be very bad for these tropical waves that come off here. And again, just because they don't develop out here, you know, we'll go back to the wide shot. You know, just because these tropical waves necessarily don't develop out in that region, you know, they could develop, you know, further west in this region. And again, you know, with the overall ridging pattern that's starting to set up over here, you know, these storms might get carried a little bit more due west, and that's where, you know, places, you know, the islands, you know, certainly everyone has to monitor. It's the peak of hurricane season. You should be monitoring anyway. Bottom line is there's a lot that will go into the overall effect of the latter part of this hurricane season, but it could be rather busy. It's not a guarantee, you know, but all the players are sort of lined up, and, you know, now it's just a monitoring time to see whether these things really come into play, or do they just kind of sit and not really do anything and accumulate too much. But all the signs are there. So as long as the signs are there, we're really going to have to keep a close eye on this. Speaking of keeping a close eye on things, just the GFS, the 18Z, sort of hot off the press here. Excuse me. And this is 95L. You won't really see much in here, but we'll go ahead and step this out to about 30 hours from now, and you can see by the GFS here, this is one run on the GFS forecast model. Do not take this as do not take this as this has to happen. This is just for guidance. But you can see 95L trying to become a little bit better organized here as it passes right near Cuba. And by 48 hours from now, you can see a little bit more of that cyclonic turning in the atmosphere. So something to keep an eye on. And by 78 hours, this thing is trying to wrap up here south of Florida. And again, this could be very interesting. Hopefully not a lot of energy for places here in the Bahamas. They really do not need that. So I have to keep a very close eye for our friends here in the Bahamas, portions of Florida, you know, South Florida. But everybody should be keeping a weary eye on this, as, you know, we could be seeing something, the seedlings of something trying to develop here in the Gulf of Mexico. And we got to about 102 hours from now. Again, something is definitely trying to get going by there. 114, you definitely see where it's a smaller system, more sprawled out. By 120 hours, you know, here's our next system. This is soon to be 96L. And you can see, you know, here's the islands. Here's Barbados. Lesser Antilles, you know, watch out, you know. Keep an eye on things, you know, not something to panic about, obviously. But, you know, and whatever, you know, is 95L, you know, comes inland here. But again, a lot of time to watch these features. You know, I want to make that clear. You know, there is a lot of time to watch these things. Also to note that there is something trying to pop up here in the Eastern Pacific. So again, there's a lot of time to watch these features, a lot of time to watch what is going on. Again, this is not all set in stone, and a lot of things can and will change between now and the next 5 days. So obviously we'll keep an eye on this. Also, just wanted to bring attention, this is the website that I have up again. Any tropical systems, we will have the live weather data that has currently been taken down right now. That is down. But again, we will keep updating our website here. And of course, it also has the live Twitter feed as well here. So that has everything to do with that. But again, we do keep the website updated and on our latest video updates and everything, and we're working to incorporate a couple newer features into that. So that is the Hurricane Outlook and discussion for tonight. Hope you all have a great rest of your evening. I'm Michael Romali, and I will probably see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.